Thank you.
It's like one time here.
Great. Welcome, everybody. I think what I'll do is just start the meeting tonight with a pledge to the flag, and we'll go from there. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty, and justice for all. All right, before we start the public hearing, I'm going to make just a few comments about what's before us. If you do plan to speak at the public hearing, you should sign up over there on the sign-in sheet. Tonight we're considering an easement, purchase of an easement agreement in perpetuity from NYSEG for use of the property as a recreational trail. The segment is from the terminus at Burns Road currently to the county line near White Church in Coddington. This is a partnership of the four towns of Caroline, Danby, Ithaca, and Dryden. We've been working steadily with NYSEG on this agreement for some time, and I do want to say that NYSEG's been a great partner and has resulted in this agreement, which is actually an acquisition of this property as an easement for use as a recreational trail. That kind of arrangement helps with grant procurement for building the trail. Once we get the easement in place, we will be able to begin grant applications and design and construction. The procurement requires purchase of the property. So we got at fair market value. So we obtained an appraisal, and the four towns agreed on a cost sharing measure, a cost sharing approach, which was to divide the value in half and share half split evenly 4 ways, and the other half we are sharing proportional to the length of property in each town. We'll be forming a trail advisory committee going forward, should we do this, with 2 representatives from each town. That group will meet twice a year to sort of oversee the trail and its maintenance. And we will be working to avoid or mitigate disturbances or impacts to residents near the trail. We look forward to providing this open space amenity to our community. So that's an overview. The length of the easement that we're extending is 7.8 miles, 5.1 miles are in Caroline. So that's about 64% of the length of this extension. So with that, I'm going to open, I guess before I don't want to go into a big discussion, but is that clear? Are there any confusion there about that? So, Mr. Hoyt?
A little confused. So the town would be purchasing an easement, not a fee simple purchase. This is an easement. NYSEG still owns the property. Yes,
It's purchase of an easement rights.
so NYSEG still owns the property. And
Yes.
the town has the
Correct.
easement.
That's
And
correct.
that's in perpetuity.
That's in perpetuity. Yeah. So,
Okay.
so,
Not quite.
perfect. So, yes,
So this
Cindy,
NYSEG, NYSEG here's the easement now.
excuse me?
NYSEG here's the easement on that area now.
No, NYSEG owns the property. Yeah. So, yeah.
How did NYSEG get the property if it was a former easement from the railroad?
So
Why did they buy an
the-
easement that belonged to land?
okay, so property ownership has been brought up in the past. We hired our attorney to do research on that. It was confirmed that the property was owned by NYSEG. If you look at the map that NYSEG provided, they referenced the deeds of property transfer to NYSEG. So they obtained it from the railroad. So, and one more question, then I'm going to proceed to the public hearing. Yes.
Are people allowed to view the deed? Is it public? Can people in the public see the deed? Or how much to see the outline of where it's starting to where?
Oh, the deeds are all at, they're public record. Yeah, you get those from the county clerk. They're referenced in the documents I posted, so, yeah. Okay. With that, I will proceed to the public hearing. And so if you're in Zoom land, you should go ahead and raise your Zoom hand if you wish to speak. And you'll be queued in the order that you raise your hand. And I'm going to alternate between people here at the town hall. We have about 34 people here in the town hall and people in Zoom land. So
I just want to remind everyone that it's really hard for people in Zoom land to hear when there's background noise. So if you want to have an ongoing conversation, you just hold on or, wait, just be quiet.
And so you have 3 minutes to speak, and our timekeeper will let you know at 30 seconds, so you can not be totally surprised at 3 minutes. So
please come and speak from the lectern.
yeah, I guess, yeah,
Yeah.
and speak from the lectern unless you're in Zoom land. So with that, I will start the public hearing, and the first person I have is Amber Michelle.
Me.
Yeah.
I own the property up on
Look here,
53. Where?
at the elected.
I own the property on 53 Caroline Depot Road, or however they name it. But along the one way, my property is cutting into the NYSEG area. I'm not familiar what we should do or what are we allowed to do.
Okay, so also a clarification. So the public hearing is to take comments. It won't be a back and forth. So we'll take comments and then in the board discussion, we'll address these points. So you're saying that your property abuts the NYSEG property?
Yes,
And you're concerned about?
of what we should do, because there was people telling me one way there was a blockage to go into the property, and my uncle tried to go into the property because he's also the owner of it, and he cannot get into the property.
Okay,
What's the address?
53 Caroline Depot, or,
Depot,
yeah,
yeah.
or whoever, depends where you're born. And what's your last name?
Michelle.
Michelle.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Amber.
You're welcome.
We don't have any hands raised in, oh, we do have one. So the first hand up in Zoom land is Emily Adams.
Yeah, hi. I didn't really want to go first, but since nobody else did, so.
You're second.
But first from Zoom land. Okay, 3 minutes. Well, I want to speak in favor of this proposal. I'm really excited about the idea of having this kind of recreation trail here in Caroline. I lived for several years near the Black Diamond Trail over in the town of Ulysses, and it was a fantastic resource that was so easy to get to, so level, nice to walk on, well-maintained, and wide enough that you could walk side by side with somebody. People biked on it. Everybody was friendly. I was a little worried, maybe there would be people littering there and it would turn, into ugliness at some point, but it didn't. It was always well taken care of and much better taken care of than the streets around it, in fact. I would like to see something like this in Caroline because I think it would be really nice for families, for visitors, for commuters, give people a way to get into Ithaca without always using the roads. It's good for fitness, good for social connection, all these nice things. Some other concerns I suppose people will have will be the funding of it. And I trust that the board and the other towns that are involved will do their due diligence and find funding and grants. I know other areas have, raised money that I thought was going to be hard for them to raise over in Dryden to do that overpass, but they did it. And so I'm totally trust that there will be funding to make this happen here. And also my understanding is that reasonable accommodations will be made for the adjacent landowners, like fencing or detours if it's really inconvenient where the trail would normally go through next to their property. And I would be in favor of the town spending some of my taxpayer money to help mitigate any sort of situation that these particular families might be having trouble with, as long as it's reasonable, not some huge, expensive, massive fence that somebody might want, but reasonable things taken to make it so that everybody feels safe and comfortable. And I think that's it.
Thank you, Emily. Next up here in the town hall, I have Sam Trechter.
Sam Trechter, Town of Carolina. Choosing to stick my neck out. This is something that I emphatically support. I've waited for a long time. I look really forward to it. I've used the Black Diamond Trail extensively. I'm an extensive biker. The roads are super dangerous for bike riders. I think it's an incredible opportunity. Bike trails have been established in Dryden to, it's just extensive popularity from my opinion. Black Diamond has been a raging success. I'm part of a committee that wants to add in, including and building more bike parks in the Cass Park region. This would allow a direct route for people recreationally. It's a safe place for my kids to grow up riding bikes, and I love it. It's an economic opportunity as well in many different ways. It makes this area richer and more valuable. And it's just something that I emphatically support and look really forward to having. Thank you.
Thank you, Sam. Catherine Goldberg, I believe.
Hi, everybody. Can you hear me?
Yes. Go ahead,
Thank you.
Catherine. Yep.
Yeah, made it all the way from Kentucky. So I'm really excited that this is happening. I am in, very strong favor of this. To be totally honest, I haven't even prepared any sort of extensive statement because this is such a no-brainer. This has been such a long time coming. This is the rural community equivalent of a public park, a public good, a community space where people can enjoy a variety of activities. And I can't speak more strongly in favor of all of this. It's not something new. It's not something out of any sort of ordinary, planning process. Anyone who uses the Black Diamond Trail, the Dryden Trail, any of those trails can tell you firsthand how delightful of an experience it is. Everyone is friendly. It's one of the last places where multiple activities can coexist. I also do want to remind people that in terms of Caroline's agricultural tradition, having horse friendly trails, which this would be, is part of that, and being able to have a place that is truly multi-use. And that's one of the real joys of the Dryden Trail. I just cannot speak in favor any more strongly. I want to thank everyone for all the effort that they've put into this. This was not easy. And, it's just a no-brainer, to be totally honest. All of the other towns that have participated in this have moved forward in ways that are not complicated. And I'm just urging Caroline to be part of the county's initiative for this and not be a thorn in the side of this procedure. So I'm really, really happy, and I want to thank everyone for their efforts.
Thank you, Catherine.
Is this trail horse friendly? Okay, I wasn't sure.
Good. Yeah. So. And then, so next up I have Bev Livingston.
Thank you. My first question to the councilman and to you, Mark, is how many of you are close to this, that's gonna live close to this trail? Do you live close to the trail?
No.
None of you.
I live in Caroline.
That doesn't matter.
Well,
That you are. We have gone through this before and it was put to bed. And why this is coming up again, and by the way, the lady that just spoke, she blocked her property from snowmobilers and now she wants to walk on other people. This is happening all the time in our area. I live on the corner of White Church and Ridgeway. They've already opened up the property from Ridgeway to White Church and they walk it with their dogs and up White Church. And the dogs go in your yard. Do they carry a bag? Absolutely not. You have to go and take care of this. This is nothing but, again, something being shoved down our throats that we didn't want before, and I can't see it being done now.
Thank you, Beth. I don't, oops, there is a hand in Zoom land. Mary Alice Kohler or Jonathan Comstock. I'm not sure who it is.
Yeah, I'll speak. We're both here.
Okay.
I don't have a lot to say, but I am strongly in favor of the trail. It has been a long time coming, and I think concerns have been well articulated in the past and addressed by the planning process. And I think it is going to be a huge benefit to the town, for families, for just a better way of life for a lot of people, whether it's that they have a green route to commute to work, or a safe place for families and kids to ride some bikes and not be contending with traffic. I use the hiking trails in Shindagan Hollow. They're bike trails, actually, mountain bike trails mostly. But there are hikers, there are skiers. Some of the dirt roads that are up there are used by snowmobilers. And it's a delight to have a multi-use area like that and experience.
But kids couldn't ride their bikes. Little kids can't ride their bikes. It's not stroller friendly.
What isn't?
The Shindagan Hollow.
Yeah, the Shindagan
trails.
Hollow trails are not.
It's for very mobile
Yeah.
access. So I too am strongly in favor. That's it.
Great. Thank you, Jonathan and Mary Alice.
Can you add me on that, please?
Next up is Khaled Awad.
Yeah, my name's Cal. I recently purchased the property at the end of White Church Road where the trail is. The trail rides along our property line. And my wife and I are from Baltimore originally. And my wife lived in North Carolina in Black Mountain. And a lot of the controversy over building these trails was quickly mitigated once the trails were built. So my wife and I look forward to this because it does bring huge benefit to the community. It's hard to see when you've lived somewhere for very long, and I know I'm new to the area, but these trails, bringing in your family to use them, I mean, like everyone just said, it's a huge asset and value to the community in the long run. Living next to it for the last 2 years, I can definitely say that much like everyone else said, most of the people that use them, we live right on it. So we see people parking and they're respectful and clean. And sometimes people cross over into our property and make a mistake, but they quickly realize the mistake they made, or they're quick to readjust. And I only think that if we extend these trails and make it clearer, it'll make it easier for people to understand where the trails are. But yeah, that's my 2 cents now. I am in favor of it. Thank you.
Thank you, Khaled. In Zoom, we have Jaya Forrest.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead, Jaya.
Hi, thank you. And thanks to the last speaker. That was nice to hear someone that is on a trail that appreciates them. I use pretty much every single trail in our county, like regularly. And I have definitely noticed, that there are many, if not most properties that abut the trail have, their individual little paths that connect to the trail. And I'm assuming they're using the trail for, that benefit. So I am very supportive of this extension, and I know how much time and effort has been put into it, and appreciate all that, and look forward to continuing with this project. It's great. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Jaya. Next up is Louis Friedman.
I'll first say that I am a property owner. The trail that's from Ridgeway to White Church goes through our property. And when we first came to town looking at buying our property and took a walk down there, that was one of the first things that convinced my wife that we wanted to move where we are. Because there's that public trail. Well, I call it a public trail because we all use it going through there. And that's a wonderful asset. But in thinking about this trail, the thing that comes to mind the most for me is quality of life. And I believe that all of us, no matter what we do, we all look for a better quality of life. Right? I mean, that we have in common. That's whatever that means to you, and it's gonna mean something different to everybody. For me, being outside in nature, moving, biking, walking, contributes to my quality of life. And I'm convinced that this trail would contribute significantly to many, 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 many people's quality of life. So I am strongly in favor of it. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Louis. All right, next up is Matt Mix.
Paperwork for you guys, my comments. They will be posted online, Heart of Caroline, so that anybody can view the photos and the comments that I have. I don't care about the trail one way or the other. Don't affect me, don't give a crap. I'm worried about the financial implications of it. If you walk this piece of property that you're talking about, it's impossible. We're talking millions of dollars to build this. By the time you put the bridge crossings in and clear it and gravel it and bring it up to code. Foolishness. We've got other issues in this town. We've got fire companies that need people to volunteer and be a part of. We got cemeteries that are short on people volunteering. If you got time and want to do something, go out and volunteer for these organizations. Keep the cemeteries up. Help the fire departments. Become a member. And quit wasting your time walking. There's too much else to do. Thank you.
Fix White Church Road. Thank you, Matt. Not seeing any hands on Zoom, so I'm gonna go to the next person on the list here, and that's Glenn Robertson.
Hi, Glenn Robertson. I'm in Brooktondale. I just want to come out in favor of the trail, but I do want to urge fiscal responsibility with it. I would hate to see it increase the tax burden for the county. Mostly my reasons for it are selfish. I'm just tired of biking on the hills. I'd really love something nice and level, straight shot, and to avoid that Burns Road intersection. I hate with Coddington. I hate driving on that in a car. I think the trail would be a good boon for the county. I think it would be good for us economically. I think it'd be great for people's health. I think it would attract people to the area and bring money in. And I urge you to be very respectful of landowners along it and mitigate as much as possible. And if you are a trail user and you walk a dog, whatever you do, clean up after your dog. Don't leave anything in a bag sitting along a trail, especially if it abuts somebody's property.
Who's gonna clean up after the horse?
Thank you.
Thank you, Glenn. So. Okay, next up at the town hall is Peter Hoyt.
Already?
I please remind everyone that this is respectful gathering, and we ask you not to have the speakers, to respect your neighbors, and to keep calm. Thank you.
Okay, so my 3 minutes starts right now.
That's right. Go ahead.
Two real quick points. One is, I asked a question about the lease in perpetuity or the easement in perpetuity. And it seems to me to be a little bit curious. I mean, if in fact it is an easement in perpetuity, then what does NYSEG ever stand to gain out of it? I mean, they get paid once. Why not just sell it? I don't know quite what perpetuity means. I leave that to you all to think about. The other quick point I want to make, I'm sorry somebody hasn't raised it already. And that is, in our recent zoning stuff, there is so much talk about protecting wetlands. Well, that 5.1 miles you're talking about, 2/3 of that is wet. I guess it would be called a wetland, I don't know. I mean, it is wet. But I want to just tell you an anecdote. That's how I really want to use my time. I'm a rail buff and an amateur rail historian. In the mid-1980s, I stopped into Joe Scaglione Jr. on Bell School Road and asked his permission to walk those two railroads. They were side by side. They were side by side, and I walked north in the direction of Caroline Depot Road. He gave me permission. This was 40 years ago, probably 25 years after the railroad abandoned the roadbed that the trail was sitting on. Yeah, please leave that damn thing off. I got it. Please leave it off. Thanks. So I started walking up through there, and I got a ways up in there. I was able to keep my feet relatively dry. It was summer, and I stayed on the, on the cinder trail. And I got, and this stink, I started to smell this stink. And then I saw these big tanks, kind of half standing, half caved in. It was an old septic dump. I don't know who used to dump up there. And I don't know if there's any evidence of that now. It's been 40 years since I've been up through there. But, it stunk the same smell that if you've ever had a cesspool pumped, you know the smell I'm talking about. It wasn't overwhelming. It didn't knock me on my ass, but it was there. And I saw the tanks. And I continued walking away.
30 seconds.
My feet got just too wet, thank you. Until my feet just got too wet to continue, and then I turned back. I don't know if or if those cinders have been mined, if the trail is, if the roadbed has subsided or what. It is considerably wet down in through there. And there is the issue of what could be considered hazardous waste. I don't know. That's something that the board should consider at least before they enter into a NYSEG agreement. 3 seconds to go. Thank you all.
So in Zoom land, we have Joanne Sirigliano.
Hi, my name is Joyce Rigliano, and we purchased property about 3 years ago, 30 acres on White Church Road along the rail line. And basically we own the part of that creek along Beaver Creek and the Fen. And I think the DEC has classified it as Class A drinking water. So honoring that, we reverted the fields from agricultural back into meadow, which we're going to be maintaining the same way. And we're going to be moving up there permanently, hopefully within the next year or two, but a maximum the next 5 years. And our property abuts the right of way where the planned hiking trail is going to be created. We're strongly in favor of the trail. And I'm assuming it's going to bring additional revenue to the town. And as long as the town is fiscally responsible and the taxpayers are not going to be hurting for this, and we can find some grants and funding, I think that it'd be a really, really good addition. From what I see, it doesn't look like it's going to impact the local wildlife. I work for Audubon. So for me, wildlife is part of it. Green space is part of it. People recreating and being able to be out in nature is part of it. And the quality of life of the people using the trails is really for it too. And tourism, because it will bring additional revenue into the town. And the vast majority of the rail on proposed trail is actually surrounded by freshwater marsh and open water, which is really what brought me to the area, because I want to make sure that water is protected because so much of it down here where I live now is polluted. But basically, there's not going to be much in the way of foot traffic coming off of the trail because, as the gentleman right before me had stated, it's pretty soggy back there for the vast majority of that trail. So once they build the trail, it should be that most times people are not going to be coming off of it. And I think it would be a really, really good revenue source for people that are coming in to recreate. And honestly, the vast majority of outdoor enthusiasts generally tend to be friendly and thoughtful people, and they have a love of nature and open space. So ecotourism, this type of tourism, should be actually welcomed, and it has a low impact to properties on wildlife. So I'm very much in favor of the proposed path. Thank you. Thank you for allowing me to comment.
Thank you, Joanne. Cindy Kennel.
I don't have property right up above, butting up against the trail, but I do care about other people. And I could walk, I could do things, but if I felt like I was encroaching on somebody else, I would be respectful to not do that. A couple of points, I guess things that people have said that I've noted. Emily noted reasonable accommodations, and then we could reroute if it meant it was too close to personal property. Well, if you're gonna reroute the trail, then you're on somebody else's property. And so we need, I don't know that that's feasible, and to reroute it, but I would be very concerned about how we take somebody else's land for what we want. We do have a lot of trails, so it's not like we don't have any. We have a lot of trails, and if we were using what we already have, just like laws that we could enforce that we already have, not necessarily making new ones. Horse-friendly trail, that's what they said up going to Burns Road. They told, oh, yep, it's horse-friendly. Somebody took the trailer, their horse, they put up great big logs across the front. It is not. So if you're gonna say it is and then block it, don't bullshit people like that. It either is or isn't. Quality of life, you're right. We all want quality of life. I would like to see my quality of life enhanced by having emergency services. My quality of life is to live, and I couldn't do that if I was having a serious emergency. But we can't manage to make that the forefront. Quality of life for people, especially with children at home, would be to have stable internet. They don't have that. There are other things that we could be doing. Is it selfish? I wouldn't say it's selfish. People like to recreate, but I'm not sure. And yes, a lot more people want it than don't, and I understand, and I don't think this should be just about those numbers, but I think people have to really consider what it means to those landowners. People don't own land and they don't think it's a big deal. But it is for those people. We've talked about this years ago, and so this is not a new thing. The last point, revenue to town, bring in revenue. Where would they be spending the money unless we're gonna put a coin box and charge them? We don't have a business hardly in this town, and we seemingly can't get any. So I'm not sure how, I guess I just don't want people to get caught up in the idea of it's gonna bring revenue and tax dollars to town. Because I don't see how that's gonna happen. So, thank you.
In Zoom, we have Rachel Fortis.
Hi. Yeah, so I live in Brooksondale, and we actually bought last year that property that Joe Scaglione used to own. That's right down there at the bottom of Bell School Road. So our property will definitely be affected by this trail, and we are strongly in favor of it, partly because if you want to walk anywhere between here and there, you've got to walk along White Church Road, which is like actually quite scary to do because people are zooming down that road at like 60 miles an hour. And I walk around a lot with my little baby who's 8 months old. And I've been thinking about where I'm going to teach her how to ride a bike and where I'm gonna ride around when I put her on her baby bike seat on my bike, because I like to bike also. And when I heard that this trail was gonna go through, I was just really excited about that because it's definitely gonna improve our quality of life. Just, you know, with biking around here, but also being able to bike into town. That's an awesome opportunity for us to not have to bike along Highway 79 or Coddington Road into Ithaca. It's just dangerous and scary, and it's something I definitely wouldn't want to do with a small child. And you know, I've spent a lot of time biking on the Black Diamond Trail or the Dryden Rail Trail, and there are beautiful places to walk, beautiful places to bike. Definitely makes me go out to Dryden more or go up to Trumansburg more, since there's a trail that will take me there that's safe and scenic. And I think that it's a pretty good bet that the same thing will happen to Brooktondale if we're able to connect that South Hill Rec Trail out here. Thanks.
Thank you, Rachel. Here at the town hall, John Haynes-Eitzen.
So hi there, I'm sorry, I'm completely unprepared for this. I've been watching for what, 15, 18 years or something. Folks have spoken about extending the South Hill Recreational Trail. And I was really thrilled about it. 5, 10 years ago, I sort of gave up in despair thinking it was never going to happen. And I'm so happy that you folks have suddenly resurrected this project. I think it's a fantastic thing. I think Brooktondale is already a destination for all the bike clubs. I think bikers come through, you know, people traveling around the country and stop and support Brookton's, they support the Dandy Mini Mart, they support the areas because this is one of the best places for runners, for bikers, for hikers, for skiers, for horseback riders. That's what brought us to this town. And one thing that has been a frustration as I get older and weaker is biking up over Beesimer or Landon up to Snyder Hill, or choosing to bike on Route 79 to go downtown. You know, I used to be a lot easier for me to bike up over that hill than it is now. And the thought of having really, you know, friendly transportation pathway to get from Caroline all the way downtown is just, you know, so exciting. And I think so many people will use it. You know, you can cross country ski in the winter, you can bike in the summer. And I think just as a practical, you know, healthy, environmentally friendly mode of transportation, it's just really, really valuable for our community. Don't really have anything else to say, but I do want to say that, you know, there are dear people here that mean a lot to our family, you know, and they don't agree. So that matters, but I think that you folks, you know, we trust you. I trust you folks to do things in a really caring way so that folks who live next to the property are really treated right, and that people who use the recreational trail don't let their dogs crap in somebody's yard or you know, abuse this public trust. We don't live next to the trail. We have friends who live next to the East Hill Recreational Trail who love it. It's in their backyard. They use it all the time. We're fortunate enough to live next to public land that gets lots of use by hikers and bikers, and we think it's just wonderful. You know, we meet people. Okay, anyway, that's all I had to say. I think it's great and strongly support this project.
Great, thank you, John. Next up is Ed Coe.
Yeah, I've been around a long time too, since this plan has been talked about all these years. So it's really thrilling to me that this board is finally put it together with the other towns to actually make this happen. I'm strongly in favor of it. And I can't add any more reasons that have already been given tonight. But I think it's a great step for Caroline to sort of be caught up with what it's like to be a modern community and take advantage of the not only the physical location we have, but the people we have, the people who will use this trail, support this trail. While at the same time having the ability, which I think we do have, to be considerate of the people that live near the trail and people who don't want the trail, who have financial concerns and other things. I put it to the board to try and find ways to get that money up there without impairing other programs or not starting on other programs like the services. That's probably our biggest. Anyway, that's enough rambling. Thank you.
Thank you. Steve Nicholson is next.
I'm Steve Nicholson. I live over on Gable Road. And my position on this is exactly the same as it was 17 years ago when this first came up. I'm wholeheartedly in favor of this project. It was 16 years ago that the town passed a resolution supporting this trail. But a lot has changed in 16 years. Now there are 50 miles of rail trails in this county alone. And New York State just opened up the Empire State Rail Trail, 750 miles trail. And you can ride from Buffalo to Manhattan. So rail trails are, the future. New York State did not do this just for the health of their citizens. It's an economic boost to the whole state. And I think the town will be negligent not to support this trail and provide, property values. We've heard all the public comments of people who live on the trail. It's an asset. It increases their property values. So I'd like to say I'd be happy to serve on the advisory committee.
Thank you, Steve. And next up is Charlotte Davis.
Hey, speaking. So I wrote it down. The comprehensive plan speaks about preserving the rural character of Caroline. It speaks about preserving the open spaces and woodlands. It also speaks about environmental protection. I've been to a couple meetings, I've been listening a little bit. Yet you guys are considering building a new trail. I would like to take a moment to present you with my findings. This is from the Dryden Jim Truck Trail. I don't know how long the Dryden Jim Chug Trail actually is. This is only one from 1 mile of the trail. 1 bag per every quarter of a mile. I could have picked up more trash. I ran out of bags, sorry to say. They would have done the environment a lot had I been more prepared with more bags. I wasn't really expecting to get that much. And okay, so their trail is similar to what you guys want to create. That. We live in an area that has several walking trails already. People have already mentioned them: Ellis Hollow, Roy H. Park Preserve, Shindangan. Okay, and the South Hill Recreational Trail. They're already done. They're already made. I enjoy walking them, as do a lot of people in this room and on Zoom. They've said they enjoy the trail. I love getting out in nature. I love it. Don't get me wrong. Also, with all these trails, we live in the country. Take a walk down a road on any given direction. I'm sure you'll find the beauty of nature everywhere. I don't own a lot of land myself, but my neighbor has a field full of pines. I have asked his permission to walk in there in the past, and he's allowed me to walk. Whenever I want, I need fresh air, I need peace of mind, I need clarity. I go over to his field and I walk, and it's very nice. This is not, I just want to point out, this is not just a one-time taxpayer-funded grant.
30 seconds.
It's upkeep and liability costs after the trail is created. Also, the privacy of landowners. Are we thinking fences? Because if I owned a house near the trail, which I do not, I probably bought it for the views. The last thing I would want is to see looking out my window or walking through my fields is walkers and bikers or a fence that would block my view. I took a lot of pictures while I was out on the trail, and I'd like these added to the minutes.
That's time.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you, Charlie. Thank you. Next up is Ernie Bales.
Here just to add my support to the creation of this trail. I live on Ridgeway Road. I own a substantial amount of frontage on the railroad bed that connects Ridgeway and Whitechurch. We use this trail all the time, along with many, many other people. My own comment have just some concerns looking at implementations of this and noticing that in the lease agreement that snowmobiles are going to be prohibited. And I would point out that not much of this trail is currently used for snowmobile use, but the stretch from Whitechurch to Ridgeway and beyond Whitechurch further south to the county line where this stops. Has in the past been a snowmobile trail, and without the snowmobile club, a lot of that probably wouldn't be there because they keep it clear and they used to be able to run their groomers down it. It's probably a moot point. We may not have winter again in our lifetimes. But in that it may be many, many years before the trail gets extended all the way out to our place. I don't know whether there might be some accommodation of those other users until such time it becomes a real conflict. That's my only point. Thank you very much. Let's do it.
Thank you, Ernie. And next up is Tim Drake.
Oh, so many circular thoughts going. I didn't prepare anything either, but I've appreciated hearing everybody's thoughts on this on both sides. And I grew up in Perry City, and my family had some farmland and snowmobiles, you know, coming through. And I just looking back on it, thinking about going to the snowmobile meetings and the clubs and basically allowing for people to come across land and creating a public space. And we had courses, so people had to, you know, open and close gates and take care of things. And, you know, as a child, for me, this was an awesome thing. My own child's 20 now, he's not into snowmobile riding. But I just think about public access, and it's true, we do live in a beautiful place with just an insane amount of access, and I'm really grateful for that. And I should say my property also does join against this trail. I'm on Coddington Road, and I'm so happy about the possibility of this coming together, and it brings me joy for lots of reasons. I like being outside. I like seeing other people outside. I will say 13 years of living there, walking down the trail between Ridgeway, you don't run into a lot of people. Hiking Finger Lakes Trail, I spent my whole last 20 years of bringing people out into nature, and it's amazing how many people are not out in nature. So I'm not personally worried about an overwhelming like flood, although I would love to see people out there. But speaking on my side, it's like not everybody's gonna end up owning land. Like it's like a commodity that's shrinking. And I'm just thinking about the future, and you know, it's hard enough for someone who's like 46 years old to be able to buy a house and afford a little piece of land. And so this idea of just like public access to me feels like something that's a gift to our children, for them to be able to, again, navigate safely. I walk Coddington every road and it is scary. It's very, very terrifying road to, you know, the trucks, they're actually quite respectful, I will say. They try to move over as they can, but there's a lot of curves. You feel the draft. And speaking for my neighbor on my one side, Wendy, she said I could speak for her. She's very happy about this, excited. She hikes, she bikes, she's doing all that too. My other friend down at the other end, also the property borders the trail. His son, teenagers, has muscular dystrophy. He's in a wheelchair, he can't walk. And things like the rail trail is very different than all the other access trails that we have around here, because his son can't go off-roading in all those places. And again, he's someone who's for his whole life has taken people out into the woods, but even his own child, he's hard time to do that. So yeah, I'm in favor of it. I do understand and hear what other people are saying. The money thing also.
30 seconds.
It's true for me. I hear it's true for other people, and you know, someday I'm gonna be dead, someone else is gonna own my land, and I hope that there'll be people enjoying the trail for generations to come. That's my, thank you.
Thank you, Tim. All right, I don't see any hands in Zoom land. And I don't have any more names on the
I asked to be added.
Holly McGee.
Yeah.
You.
All right, so I didn't write anything up, I just took a few notes. I like how Catherine wants to step foot on other people's properties, but she blocked them from hers. Nice. How many trails do you people need? We have Shadagan Hill, we have Hammond Hill, we have Jinxville. Roy H. Park has 2 trails, Ridgeway. It's not far from here, Dryden, the Dryden Trail, Game Farm. Skiers can go to Great Peak, it's just over the hill. This proposed trail doesn't really go anywhere, it's like a dead end, correct? Oh, I was just in Shawinigan the other day and it's covered in trash. I could have brought it, but it would have filled the room. What about the hunting? I mean, this is the country, right? People are saying how safe the trail will be, but it's not. You claim it will be closed during hunting season. What about unprotected species season, which is all year long, any time of day? Gunfire doesn't sound safe around walking trails and small children. Bullets flying by is not safe. What if someone gets shot? Who is liable? What about dogs that are just hanging out in their yards? What if a trail goer gets bit? Who's liable for that? Constant annoying barking from local dogs trying to protect their home and neighbors. Increases in our taxes and liability. What is next on the agenda? What kind of eminent domain is next? Trails to private properties, scenic views that Gene McFeeters was mapping out, new trespassing trails for bird watching and checking out streams and meditating. And then lastly, I'm still not convinced NYSEG purchased this rail trail legally. Do they legally own it? The research your lawyer did is very questionable. That's it.
Thank you, Holly. So.
Does anybody else want to speak that didn't sign up?
What's that?
Does anybody else want to speak that didn't sign up?
Yeah, that's what I just.
Okay, I'm sorry, I missed that.
Does anyone else wish to speak?
Laura, would you take email comments from people that couldn't be here today?
Yeah, that was invited in the posting, so email comments are invited always.
I don't think anybody gets those things.
So I think Jaya Forrest and Cyrus hasn't spoken, has his hand up, so. Go ahead, Cyrus. Trouble unmuting, I think.
You might want to move on, Mark. I've tried to unmute him several times. He's not picking up, so.
Oh, okay, yeah. Okay. And then I see Giant Forest hands up. Is that old or?
He spoke before.
Hi, Mark, can you hear me?
Oh, yes.
I know I already spoke and thank you for unmuting me. I just want to make a note that there has been 2 personal attacks on Catherine, my wife.
Yeah.
And I do not appreciate that.
Yeah.
They have both been referring to an issue that we do not let snowmobiles on our land and equating that to having a hiking trail that is for the common good. The land that the snowmobiles used to use is now horse pasture, therefore not very good for snowmobile use right now. It's beyond me that these people are attacking her for that, and I do not appreciate it.
Thank you for that clarification.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for the clarification.
But it's okay.
So,
For everybody to
that's,
talk on
yeah.
it. You know, I
So
think we asked that people not talk from the.
Is this public? So,
You can ask to speak.
do you wish to speak or somebody? Okay. Yes.
I don't think the town should do it because of
Can you give me your name, please?
Don Max.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
It's a waste of money. You oughta think about the roads. I worked for the highway department for 31 years and they can't afford the stuff they're doing now. We've never had a truck payment before till you and a couple other people been in here. They always paid for the stuff they got. They didn't have payments. And to waste the money on that trail, if people wanna go walk on the state land or buy your own land. That's the way I feel.
Okay, thank you.
It's a waste of money.
So now, we have exhausted the hands and signups, so I'm gonna now close the public hearing. Move on to the business meeting. And so with that, the public hearing closed and I'll open the town board meeting. Thank everybody for coming. Thank everybody for coming. Thank you all for coming. Yep. Thanks, everybody. How you doing?
Yeah, I wish I had.
Anyone else?
Yeah, see. Yes. It's the trail in front.
All right, so. Good night.
Is it meeting open to the public?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You can
I
stay.
just meant for people to leave. But I just wanted to let them know the public hearing was finished, so.
Now the fun starts.
But our business meetings are never that popular.
I can understand why.
So I will proceed, just before we start, we have some interviews lined up for our zoning board of appeals. I am gonna add to our agenda tonight the 284 agreement, but that's a minor addition, so. So as people know, we've recently adopted a zoning law, and that requires a zoning board of appeals to consider applications for variances from the zoning provisions. That's a 3-member board, and so we are going to interview applicants tonight who have stepped forward to volunteer for that board. And first we have Dave Makar here with us. Thanks for joining us. And I guess just if you could just start by telling us a little about yourself, your history, and then your interest in being on the zoning board of appeals.
Sure, I emailed, so I'm just gonna read a bit to what I emailed, and I have copies for you, which you might already have.
Okay.
My name's Dave Makar. I reside at 23 Wood Lane Road, the town of Caroline. I moved here in 2018 from the town of Dryden. My daughter went to Caroline Elementary School for kindergarten, 5th grade. She's now a 6th grader at DeWitt. I work from home and I spend a lot of time in the town of Caroline. I am interested in serving as a member of the ZBA. Prior to living in Caroline, I lived in the town of Dryden from 2004 to 2018. And while there, I served on the Dryden Town Board from 2007 to 2011 for 5 years. For the final 4 years I was in office, I served as deputy supervisor. So thanks for your service tonight. I've been on that side of the table. I care very much about the place where I live and prefer the rural nature of living in a town versus living in a city. I support the concept of zoning as a method to sustain the current look and feel of the community when it comes to open spaces, development, and commerce. Zoning and code enforcement in rural New York represents a positive approach to community development and environmental stewardship. By promoting sustainable land use, protecting public health and safety, preserving natural resources, and fostering social equity, these measures contribute to the long-term well-being and vitality of rural communities. I recognize the importance of responsible governance and regulation in achieving these goals and support efforts to strengthen and enforce zoning and building codes for the benefit of all residents.
Great, thank you, Dave. Any questions for Dave?
Have you read the zoning law?
I have not read the zoning law. I'm familiar with zoning law.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Thanks.
There's my stock question. What's the last book you read?
Finished. I started a lot of books.
Oh, yeah, I know that. What's the last book you started?
I'm reading, I don't think it's, I'm reading a book called Swimming in Ponds. It's
Oh,
about-
I've heard that.
It's about
Excellent book.
7 short stories by Russian writers, actually 6 stories by Russian writers and 1 Ukrainian writer. Short stories and criticism of the short stories. So let me check off.
By George Saunders.
That's right. He's a professor at Syracuse.
Right.
By who?
George Saunders.
Saunders?
Saunders, he's a Syracuse professor. He writes about short story writing.
I actually listened to that book. It's great to listen to.
So
He's not here.
I guess my expectation is that this board would meet irregularly. If we've written a zoning law that's, since it was written intentionally to fit with the character of Caroline, I'm hoping we won't have too many appeals. Yeah, I think it would be irregular meetings that requires some trainings every year, like 4 hours of training. We are planning a training, I think it's for May 13th and May 29th. The one on the 13th is in Lansing, and the one on the 29th will be by Zoom in the evening.
We would assume that if, we would assume, Dave, that you would read the zoning law.
Yes.
Immediately, you were put on the ZBA and are generally familiar with their comprehensive plan and the goals of the community.
Yeah, I think with the exception of the time in Caroline, the few years I lived in Boston, everywhere I lived in my life, it was a ZBA. So I'm familiar with the rare frequency, or the potentially rare frequency of meetings and the importance when they do meet to make those tough calls.
Okay, so
And
you
the
must,
education.
yeah, so you must have observed the operation of the ZBA in Dryden, right?
Yes, but as a town board, there's a good amount of distance between us.
Right.
Which is by design.
Have a firewall there, hey?
And the zoning board of appeals, I mean, so I went to a training about updating the zoning law. And a lot of that relies on the zoning board of appeals to say, hey, there's a problem here, or we're having a regular confusion about this one aspect, and so you're reporting back to us about that.
Yeah, I mean, we're getting the same requirement for appeals month
Right.
after month after month.
Yeah, I mean, you've been on the town board, you know how to deal with laws and, yeah, ins and outs, and read and write well, and, yeah.
I'm very appreciative of your applying for
Yeah.
the position.
Yes,
I think it's
Thank
great.
you.
very,
Thanks.
we're very lucky.
Thanks very much. Great, and I had thought we were gonna have two other applicants talk to us tonight. I don't see them right now, but if they show up,
Maybe they're
maybe.
coming in.
There's one,
Huh? You're right,
yes.
so. Welcome, Rob. Don't sit down. We just spoke with Dave and we're ready to speak with you.
Oh, ready?
Excellent timing.
I was zooming from home.
You were, yeah, so,
So then you zoomed right over here.
Exactly.
yeah.
Oh, yes.
So welcome, Robin. And so I would just ask, just tell us a little about yourself, your background, and you're interested in serving on the ZBA and, you know, any relevant experience.
Well, my interest primarily comes from my service on the ZBA in the village of Cuba Heights, which was, I don't remember the exact dates, but I think it was about 18 years, 15 or 18 years. It was gratifying because it was a way of people working together. You know, we wanted to make the neighbors happy, and we wanted to make the supplicant happy, and we wanted to basically honor the zoning regulations of the village. And very often we found ways to do that, to find modifications and compromises. So that was very satisfying.
Okay.
So that's really my primary relevant experience. Over the years, you know, I've lived in Ithaca 50 years and have been active in various things the way one does. So I welcome questions.
Great, thank you, yeah. I liked your experience with the way you explained the compromise, sort of reaching a good solution to achieve the goals of the town and
Working with people.
help the applicant, so, no.
And I'm pretty sure you're familiar with the zoning law, the new zoning law that we have.
No, I'm not. But, you know, one does one's homework. I remember, we got a big notebook from the state of New York, guidelines we had to follow, and we did.
Okay. And I did mention, before, we are planning some trainings, for our boards, but that would definitely include the ZBA.
Of course.
So there's gonna be one, I think, it's either the 13th or the 15th. I think it's the 13th. That one is in Lansing, and then on the 29th, we're planning one, that'll be by Zoom, and that's gonna be led by Nan Stoltenberg, the planner that helped us with the zoning law, so. Great. Well, your experience sounds quite valuable, so. Any questions for Robin?
Well, I guess to both of you, I feel, I don't know how you feel, but the town is like this right now.
I don't feel that.
That's fine. I do.
Okay.
And I think we need this, so I'm very
Mhm.
gratified to hear you both you've spoken very clearly, Robin, that, you know, compromise and wanting to abide by the law and yet abide by the law and yet try to work with the individuals, so. I just think that for the zoning board of appeals, that's, to me, there's going from this to this.
I certainly think that any initial meetings are going to be tense at first.
Yes.
And I think we should expect that. And try to reassure people. One thing the chair of the zoning board I was on, that he did, that I thought was very helpful. At the beginning of every meeting, he would walk people through the stages of the meeting so that everyone knew exactly where they were and what the expectations were. And
That's for the process they would expect?
Yes.
Okay.
And I think that was very helpful for all participants.
Experience is valuable. My other stock question is, what did you find is better reading than the zoning legislation?
Oh, what do I find is better reading? Well, my favorite book is Moby Dick, but.
By Nathaniel Hawthorne? That one?
Which one?
Moby Dick by Nathaniel Hawthorne.
The book was dedicated to him.
Oh, that was it. That was it.
Best friends.
That's interesting.
Great. Thank you.
Call
Thank you,
me
Robin.
Ishmael.
Yeah.
Right? That's the first line, call me Ishmael.
Great, okay. So those are our CBA interviews for this evening, and thanks so much. Really appreciate you all stepping forward. So,
You need 3 people for it, right?
yeah, we need 3. Yeah. So.
We get scored.
Thanks.
Not kidding. Louis, what you up to?
I'm just here, great, actually, I'm here because when I first started thinking about coming to this meeting tonight, I read on the town of Caroline, all the stuff that was going on. And I became so aware of and full of gratitude for all the work that you guys do.
I feel the same way, that's why I'm here. So.
And the time to write this and write that and the zoning and all the work, and then that's just one little piece of all that you do. I'm just like, oh my God, I'm just in awe of all the dedication and the commitment and the time you put into everything. So I am very grateful.
Thank you so much. Yeah, that's really nice. Appreciate that. So.
We're not gonna be here forever, so
Well said. Well said. So, great. I will move on to my report. So I did, the correspondence of note is that I did mail letters to 40 property owners residing along the Caroline stretch of the extension. Many of them were here this evening. And we did receive actually 4 written comments and 1 by telephone that were all very supportive of the trail extension and very excited about it. Moving on to my supervisor's notes for the month, the countywide rapid emergency medical response program that was recently developed, began operation on April 2nd.
And his truck was just down the road, parked across the street from me tonight.
Is that right? The white truck with the Tompkins
Oh,
County
it was
EMS.
on our
So,
street too.
Use it to turn around, yeah.
so if you see a white pickup truck with Tompkins County EMS, that's the rapid medical response.
Is he was actually parked in the driveway of my neighbor, so is that who I know is an EMT? Is he like the guy?
Yeah, and they were down on the back street, at a neighbor's house too, last
So the
week.
corner of
So-
Baylor and
They're great.
Yeah.
Baylor and Speed and Buffalo.
They get around.
I thought, wow, that's convenient.
Yeah.
Bob Spencer and I met with Labella on Tuesday morning to discuss the revised functional program for the remodeling and rebuilding the highway barn. So, because they were expecting that since our last
Yeah.
meeting, so that was a good meeting, and so Labella has information about what they need, and we'll be developing a
Okay, I'm curious.
a plan for us
Yeah,
to
we're all curious.
Yeah.
look at. As you know, our code officer Cliff Babson, has resigned because of increased obligations of his other job, that he was trying to juggle those two balls. That's effective today, so I saw him at 5 o'clock when I left and bid him farewell. He showed me how he's got the office set up and everything, so I wish him well with his building energy performance endeavors. The Cal was asking about the town hall renovation project. We've been getting documentation together, which includes exciting things like all the deeds associated with this property, the last of which was the easements for the utility that the state has to see to make sure that they're not making improvements to
Somebody else's property.
bogus property. So that's almost done. Energy Independent Caroline, with much muscle from Mike Brown, is interviewing community solar providers and will soon be making a recommendation to us for our town utility accounts for community solar, and that's where your accounts get assigned to a solar development. And then also conducting a community campaign that would be to the residents of Caroline for that option. So I think they're doing an interview tomorrow night, and then they'll probably be making a recommendation to us after that fairly quickly.
Wow.
Since it's topical tonight, working with four other towns for the trail project on identifying trail funding opportunities. We do have one that's imminent with a June 17th deadline. That Fernando de Aragon from the Transportation Council brought forward, and so we've been like us, other towns are short-staffed, so we need someone to help with basically administering the grant application process. So I spoke to Kate this morning and she enthusiastically raised her hand. So is that still true?
It is.
Awesome.
Okay.
So I did tell Fernando, and so
That's great.
if you'd follow up with him, that would be
Fernando's
great.
help, I would, yeah.
Did you contact him yet?
I did not, but I will.
Okay, yeah.
I'll get.
So he's expecting to hear from you. So,
Okay.
so thank you very much. That's incredibly helpful. So, broadband update. At any moment, we should hear about our Connect All grant application for the municipal infrastructure project for the Caroline Fiber. I need to let you know that Dan Klein let me know the other day that the county wishes to apply for a separate Connect All grant application that's specific for counties to reach all unserved addresses. And so his question was, so they want to have a strong application, and so he's like wondering whether we wanted Caroline included, and at this point, I told him I'm not comfortable with that. The reason is that the unserved addresses those unserved addresses give you, standing for a lot of grant applications.
Eligibility.
Eligibility. So, if we don't get the MIP, there's a federal USDA grant that Kate and I have been looped in on that I think we would probably want to apply for. So we want to be able to do that. So, I did tell Dan that I would bring it forward for you all because I can't just make decisions by myself.
So, the USDA grant, we have to have some unserved populations or we're not eligible for the money. So if the county.
Or we're not eligible.
Yeah, if the county serves those, then we're not eligible.
But if we're not eligible for one, what about just rolling in with the county?
Right, but so, that's a good question. If we roll in with the county, then we won't have a way to serve all of our other addresses. We won't get the funding to serve the rest of the town because we're trying to build a municipal broadband fiber for all of Caroline.
Right.
So that's the worry.
So it doesn't connect with underserved people. So the county will only be doing the people that have absolutely none, not the underserved. So they'll be putting, they'll be like paying Spectrum, right? To put out a connection, like, you know, down a long road, but anybody on the side of that can't jump on. It's only like the people that aren't served. Does that make sense?
No, because just, and part of it's the lingo for me, because I still can't understand if I'm unserved or underserved at my home address. Sometimes I hear talk and it seems like I'm unserved and other times I'm underserved.
If you have internet, then
Yes.
you're underserved. If you don't have this.
But then I thought there was some other regulation that I read in something that if your download and upload speeds, I mean, my download speed the other night was 2 and my upload speed was 0.2.
So that's unserved.
That's not,
Yes, for sure.
Yeah.
It's unserved.
Unserved.
It's not, I'm not underserved.
My understanding is you'd be unserved, but it doesn't really matter. It just, all you need to know is that these things exist.
Yeah.
And if we allow the county to apply for these addresses, then we can't apply for the USDA fund grant.
Correct.
50/50. So it is it's a decision point on a direction that we want to go. So, Tim.
I mean, I'd like to go back to something that I raised with Dan Klein the last time he was here regarding the county's plan. I don't understand why we could not be included in this county application, countywide application as a Dryden Caroline cutout. So that were they to get the funding, we would receive our equivalent funding to do our municipal project, as opposed to just being cut out of it at all, completely. So my understanding is the county is providing us with a all or none proposition. And we're providing the county with a potential great service in partnering with Dryden, which is already established. And we want to reach those underserved addresses. So if the county is applying for state money on a countywide basis, could they not include us as partners? Municipal owned broadband as a cutout within their application.
So we'd be like Spectrum. I think.
Yeah, I
So
think you're saying better what.
Hunt supplies the county. So Hunt's Engineering, Dryden Fiber and Caroline applied to the county for them to use them as their outreach. Remember that was,
I don't know about this, or I can't remember it.
I was not using the right words probably. Before it was clear what the county was doing, Hunt's applied for Dryden and to the county on this thing the county was doing that was vague.
Are you talking about the ARPA funds?
Which ARPA funds? No, not the ARPA funds that I got. No. no, this is something else. So,
So what,
anyway, we talked, with Ryan about this at length, and he was frustrated working with the county, trying to figure out what they wanted, and you remember that? Was it?
Yeah, I don't know,
6
but-
weeks ago. Anyway, they didn't go with the idea that Hunts could do that. They went with, what companies did the county go with again? It was Spectrum and,
Yeah, 1 point, right?
1 point.
yeah, 1 point,
Which
right,
brought out Clarity.
that's right,
Right.
1 point.
So my suggestion would be that we go to, that you respond to Dan Klein with this, at least with this proposal.
Mhm.
I mean, I think it would behoove the county to include Dryden and Caroline
But
as
they won't-
as cutouts in that
So we would.
proposal.
Right, so I see what you're saying. So you're saying that Dryden and Caroline would be cut out from what they're proposing, right?
We would like to be part of the county grant as a separate entity instead
see what
of,
you mean. Yeah.
being served by Spectrum or 1 point.
Mhm.
We would be the service.
That we would be the service.
That's-
I don't see why they.
Totally agree.
I
Yeah.
think that's what Hunt's tried to do.
Right.
That's what I was just talking about. That's what Hunt's trying to do. We could ask again.
And if the grantor.
But they,
wouldn't
I think they need to
belong
have
to the county.
specific unserved addresses. But yeah, why couldn't we be instead of 1 point?
Right.
So that was Jason Leifer's first reaction to, so we would just be an ISP, assign it to us. So I agree with that. I think that.
Yep. But I think we tried that, but we can try again.
So the other thing that I should have explained is that it may simplify on its own. If we find out about the Connect All MIP grant soon and we're successful, then it's all solved really. So then we're covered by that. The county can put their grant in for the remainder and everybody's happy. That's my understanding.
Yeah.
So and so this decision, the county needs to submit their grant application like in a week. So that's why I had to talk about this tonight and get a sense for where you guys wanted to go. So is everybody comfortable with the response that Tim suggested?
As long as we're very clear that we're not talking about only reaching those. I don't know how to say it.
Capillaries.
Yeah, those unserved places. What I wouldn't want is to say, oh, you can have money and you can have a line
Right.
and not get anybody attached except for those people.
Yeah, I wondered about that.
Okay,
Right.
that is a real danger for us getting money down the road. Should we not get this other, the grant that we're
Right,
really hoping
right.
for? So you know, we thought we would have heard by now.
Is there not fiber here? I don't know.
No, not really. In a lot of places, not at all, nothing. So,
Okay.
Yeah.
Great, thank you all. That's great. I try to do this every year for there's the Tompkins County Climate Protection Initiative that Peter Bardaglio chairs. So I submitted our report for Caroline. That's in the notes I sent you. I'm not gonna read it here. It's, I don't know, I summarized the high points of our zoning law, which is environmentally friendly and protective. And I think strongly supports sustainability. I talked about our feasibility study for a thermal energy network in Speedsville, which I'm very hopeful about. Talked about the conclusion of our Brighten Up Caroline program in 2023 that converted all the streetlights to LEDs and did the LED streetlight distribution and converted 2 of the fire halls to LEDs. I talked about the ag and farmland protection planning that's been going on in 2023, and then the historic renovation grant we got for this building that we are just barely getting started up. So those are our sustainability measures. And, then my final note is that the newsletter, first newsletter that everybody should have gotten in their mailboxes by now, went out last week, finally.
Yep, I got it.
Yeah,
First thing I read in the mail when I got home.
great. That's my report. Kathy, do you have a report?
Yep, real quick, I just wanted to mention to everyone that the tax collection records have been turned over to the county. So if anyone has any unpaid tax bills, they have to make them now at the finance office. And there's more information on the back of your tax bill about that. My March report, fees collected in March, 37 dog licenses, 1 impoundment, and 5 building permits. Fishing licenses are now on sale as of April 1st, and the DEC has notified all agents that beginning in August, they're no longer going to be printing licenses or tags on their special colored paper. Everyone will now get theirs. If you get yours printed off, it'll be on regular paper, or you have the option now to have them emailed to you. And they said this is due to saving on production costs and eventually becoming paperless.
Great.
So I think hunting season, that'll be a lot for people, maybe the next newsletter. This summer, we'll put something out for that because I'm sure people have questions when they don't get their tags in the mail.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Great, thank you. Remind me to get my fishing license tomorrow. I keep forgetting.
You got it.
Great, thanks. Thanks for your report. Great. Any committee updates?
No.
Great.
Well, the broadband, they're looking for a place for the pop.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Looking for a place for what?
It's called, it's a point of presence. It's a little utility shed for some equipment that I have no idea.
It might not be it's like a little, it's hopefully gonna be inside a building. It's not gonna be like a shed. I thought they were gonna have it inside.
I think it can be external too.
Okay.
So I contacted Beth today and we have a date for Friday afternoon with the hunt. We're gonna do a site assessment of the town hall grounds and then the Slaterville Fire Hall. So that's the pop where they're gonna be, I think there's gonna be another pop, but anyway, we got.
That's the first pop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Caroline Center is the geographic center of the town.
Yeah, we gotta move from Dryden Nash.
Yeah.
But yeah.
But once you.
So this is the build out that, the grant that Kate submitted to the county. So we piled all our ARPA funds together towards this initial build out that we're hoping will build the momentum to keep this project moving forward. So.
They're just.
Yeah.
They're throwing up something.
Yeah, so we wanna,
I know the guy that owns the land around Caroline Center.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, that's all.
we thought about kind of starting and then merging with
Well, I
Dryden,
think
but we decided it'd be better to work off.
Yeah.
Hunt Engineers did the feasibility study for us and they have a map with the backbones and everything. So I think they thought about where it would work.
Yeah, we saw that a while ago, as well as the customer concentration would be.
Yeah.
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 Because I think it's really exciting. So there's some movement there.
I don't think it's very exciting, but I think it's needed.
Hmm?
I don't think it's exciting, I just think it's needed.
Yeah. I think it's exciting that it's actually happening. So
Yeah.
That's.
Yeah, pinch me, yeah.
Okay.
So great. Okay. So we previously interviewed people for the review board, and so in today's revised agenda that I sent out earlier, I was trying to confirm with everybody that this would be okay with them, and I did. So I will offer a resolution for appointment to the review board. Resolve the Caroline Town Board hereby appoints Jean McPeters to the review board with a term effective immediately and extending through December 31st, 2027. And further be it resolved, the Caroline Town Board hereby appoints Jeff O'Reilly to the review board as the alternate member with a term effective immediately and extending through December 31st, 2025. And so for the alternate, I just made it 2-year or year and a half term because I didn't know what else to do. So it could be extended. So
I second that.
seconded by Kate. Any further questions? If no questions, I'll call for a vote. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? That's unanimous. Thank you. And without further ado, I will offer a resolution authorizing me to sign a recreational trail easement with NYSEG and to sign an intermunicipal agreement with the towns of Dryden, Danby, and Ithaca for the South Hill Recreation Way extension. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Tim.
I'm not ready to vote on it. I asked that it be tabled.
I
Or however that's handled appropriately.
I won't second that. So go around. Comments, questions?
Well, I mean, I'll be ready to vote on it because I thought that tonight's public hearing was indicative of what I've been hearing for the past 5 years since I've been on the board. There's broad public support of our moving forward with this agreement. I mean, we're not actually, this agreement isn't building the trail, it's authorizing the lease agreement for utilization as a trail. I think that there's broad public support for this, recognizing that there's also we have many citizens who are upset about it, but I think that the wide range of reasons to move forward with this expressed by a very surprising, extensive community of the public tonight, including quite a number of people whose land abuts up against the trail, just for me affirms the value and the positivity of moving in this direction. So I have no reason to suspend a vote on this. So I'm ready to go.
I just want to say, I was surprised at how many property owners whose land abut the trail are in favor of it. And so, yeah, I had no idea that that was the case. So, I don't see any reason to not vote on it. I don't see what information we would get to make us about it later. So what kind of information are you looking for?
Well, it's not on our property, but it starts right out with, where the South Hill Recreation Trail ends right now on Birds Road. And where's it gonna go from there? Is it gonna, what about the agreement, and it's referred to in the easement deal with NYSEG, that they acknowledge, as I read it, they acknowledge that there's other easements that have been granted, and how is that gonna be resolved? So right from the very start.
That's incorrect. So
explain to me how I'm incorrect.
So what easements are you referring to?
Where the property.
In the documents that I presented, what did you notice?
Okay, there's the South Hill Recreation Trail.
Yeah.
Comes to Burns Road.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm assuming that it's gonna go across Burns Road and down that property owner's driveway.
It's gonna go on NYSEG's property exclusively.
Correct. But that person also has, and it's no longer owned by Bill Hilker. We saw him at plenty of the previous meetings. So if it's not even, I don't know, I'd like to see that property rights issue resolved. Some talk about setbacks, and as Ernie mentioned about snowmobiles on the trail in there. And forgive me, but I didn't read that the trail was horse friendly. And I'll go back and read it again, maybe I'm wrong.
Okay, it doesn't specify horses, but it gives us the latitude to allow horses.
Okay.
So there are other things that are not specified that we can allow as well, so.
Okay, I didn't know how restrictive.
Yeah.
Is there any issue with the fact that NYSEG is owned by Avangrid?
No.
Okay,
What would that be? I mean, I don't know what you're referring to.
this is the company that owns NYSEG.
Yeah.
So, you know, I mean, does NYSEG as a subsidiary have the right to make this easement agreement with these municipalities? I'm assuming it does, but I guess I just need to see it
I'll
both.
explain. So
Okay.
once the towns, each of the 4 towns is signing an identical easement agreement. Once that's all done, it's not done. So then we will, then NYSEG will gather that and send it off to the Public Service Commission. And then the Public Service Commission has to approve it, and that takes some time. So the Public Service Commission will, if there's anything wrong with NYSEG doing this, that's when you'll find out. So
That's great. But so why are we forking over $36,000 before we know if even it's a deal?
well, if it doesn't go through, we'll get our money back.
Okay, well, that's good to know.
Yeah.
If it doesn't go through, we'll get our money back. That makes a difference to me.
Well, I don't think we'll pay our money until it's approved.
Okay, well, we're getting even better.
Yeah.
But that wasn't spelled out to me.
Okay.
It sounded like from the regulation, from the resolution, where we're gonna write a check to. But I would like the snowmobile people to be able to use it in
So,
the winter, but it says it's not permitted in the easement.
It does say that, yeah, it's for pedestrian.
it's for pedestrians,
Pedestrians,
Yeah.
it's for non-motorized. Except
or
for,
except for,
well, it's except for e-bikes.
how are we going to handle violations?
So I'd like to say something.
Okay,
Sure.
go ahead.
Kind of skip me. I don't see any reason to pause on this. It would drive me crazy, honestly. I was on the Trails
Sure.
Committee,
I know.
17 years ago and worked really hard on this. I was asked by the town board, we were asked by the town board to answer 10 questions. We wrote over 400 pages, huh?
11.
Thank you, 11 questions. We wrote over 400 pages and I don't think the town board ever read it. We answered all these questions. A lot of them were asked again and again and again. The legal, the crime, the trash, what it's gonna be made of, how much it's gonna cost, where are the grants. There was so much information there. The 4 towns have been working on this without me because I would get too emotional about it. I'm already emotional. You know, because it just got completely dropped.
Yeah.
And the town board let us
Yeah.
be hanging out there in the wind. It was not a pleasant experience. I am absolutely for this trail. I have been thinking about this trail since 1995. This is an obvious connection to Caroline, to be able to bike, to be able to walk. It will bring in money. We've got people with bed and breakfast writing, saying that they would like it for tourism. And a lot of the areas, you know, like the Ridgeway, that's used with Finger Lakes Trail. So I feel really great about this, just getting the easement so that we can move forward on designing the trail. But we have to have the easement first. We can't get grants until we have the easement.
And we will get our money back if it doesn't, or if we will get our money back if it doesn't go forward, or if we decide the construction costs are just prohibitive, or we don't get the grants. I mean, this is why I asked initially about just tabling, because I've got questions. I mean, Michelle, I was really surprised in them, you know, I mean, I was checking things off here and I got 16 yays, 4 no's, 1 so-so, and 2 are unsure, don't care. So, you know, and as I remember the past discussions on it, yeah, there was a lot more adjacent property owner objections. And I didn't hear that tonight. I heard 1 strong objection. So, you know, I feel there's been a significant change in not sediment. It has something to do with the sentiment. So, you know, I think just our discussion here is, But I had questions, you
Yeah.
know, I
But
wanted to
that's
hear what the
what-
public had to say, and
Yeah, me too.
I don't know, I'd like to,
So can I just address some of the things I heard tonight?
Sure.
That
please,
I heard people worried about, trash.
yeah.
And I think that's real. I remember a friend who's a biker and that when the first South Hill Recway opened, that got caught them by surprise and there was a lot of dog residue. And so I think they put out doggy bags and I think it, however, depends on the segment of the trail and how it's used. So certainly trash that we saw and heard about tonight and dog refuse that, you know.
Well,
we'll
there's
be
deer
attentive to
refuse
that.
and turkey refuse and.
Yeah.
I'm just saying,
Turkey?
Yeah.
I'd be delighted for some turkey, so.
Geese,
no, I mean, whatever, I'm
I
just,
know,
So.
those cows that get.
rabbits.
I just wanted to add something about the trash that was brought to us tonight. It's springtime.
Yeah.
Right.
Every road and every trail across the county has refuse that accumulated over the winter and it's now cleaned up.
Or
time.
or
We're
even
having a
last
town clean
summer.
up ourselves next week.
Yeah.
I just.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you can find that much trash on,
Between your house and mine.
yeah, I mean, it's not because it's a trail, it's because people throw trash or
Because
trash
people
gets,
are slobs.
well, people, trash gets blown out of your recycling, you know, recycling out, it gets
Yeah,
blown.
I mean, it's,
So,
I have a street going right next to my house. People are walking up and down it, biking up and down it. They even drive up and down it fast.
Yeah.
And, there's somebody that used to use diapers out regularly when they slowed down at the corner. And, McDonald's stuff. I pick it up every day.
Sorry,
But I'm
Mark.
just saying,
I just.
so my point is that there is
It's gonna be
trash. And you get it from the streets and
But I wanted
go
to,
ahead.
say that we will be attentive to this. Part of the plan is to provide maintenance for the trail in a way that's. The other thing I heard tonight is about fiscal responsibility and,
Yep.
and I understand that and I feel that. So I think the initial purchase amounts are incredibly reasonable. Maintenance going forward will be something we'll have to be attentive to. We're planning all along to make this a stone dust trail. So those are fairly low maintenance there, but they have a good surface to walk and ride on. From a 2014 document, the average cost per mile per year for stone dust trails is about $1,000 a year. Our section of the trail is 5 miles long. So that's maximum, $5,000, but there'll be a cost sharing with the 4 other towns. So probably something like what I articulated for the purchase. So I also think, I think, yeah, we can do it in a reasonable way. Other thing I want to point out is one of the letters really spoke. One of the first responses we got was from Paul Vidovich, who said, I'm all in on this and I'd love to help. And I've got lots of feedback from people who want to pitch in and make this a reality and actually help on the trail. And I was looking at this, again, it's this trail document here. It's a Rails to Trails document where they surveyed 200 different rail trails. And most of them are maintained by volunteers, like 46% of them were maintained by volunteers. I think that'd be a really great community building. I would love, my name's right on there. I'd love to do
So like,
that.
it's the Friends of the Trails idea.
Yeah.
Why is it
Greenway.
$3 million liability insurance writer? His name is Tom Caroline.
So the liability is really, I did inquire with Bailey Place. And he said, I don't expect the cost to increase or they'll be minimal. I said,
Okay.
Cal, can I direct you to a document that was written some years ago that actually addresses that question that you're asking right there?
Sure, that's right.
Yes.
It did.
It did.
It did. And also there's this, and it may reference it in that there's the recreational use statute, which basically exempts landowners, property owners, landowners from liability.
It depends which lawyer you're talking to.
For recreational use. Well, I looked it up and I don't know if it was a lawyer, but it does, the liability risks from public use areas, from parks, from, public areas is very low. So I was assured by Jeremy Boylan at Bailey Place that the liability costs are gonna be minimal.
Okay, it just, it's things that I've seen as I read this and just,
Yeah.
I'm concerned about the cost and we all acknowledged, we heard that tonight, the financial responsibility going forward.
Yeah. Fair enough.
And just how it dovetails and fits in with our new zoning law. Any things about setback and wetlands and. I loved myself, Catherine's comment about just the closest thing to a public park for a rural area resonated with me.
Yeah.
But I got a few things I want to kick around in my head, so I'm not gonna go along with okaying spending the money tonight. But
We won't spend it tonight.
Hmm?
We will not spend it tonight, and
Why we won't spend the money
I do want to point out that we can't do anything until we get this easement in place. We can't apply for grant funds. There's a June 17th deadline that.
So
It's a
we're
lot of
caught
money.
between a rock and a hard place, sort of thing. We can't do anything until we
That's right.
have the easement, and I'm saying, well, I don't want.
Okay.
I'll go along with it.
Great.
Thank you for hearing me out.
Yeah. Thank you. So the other thing that struck me is, I know, I liked all the comments about the, this isn't just any trail. This is a rail bed. It's a straight level shot from, it doesn't go from nowhere. It goes from Caroline to Ithaca.
Goes from
And
Wilseyville to-
anybody that.
I'm sorry.
If you want to commute on foot or bike, it's great. And you're not gonna be on Route 79 or Coddington Road. My neighbor has been knocked off his bike twice biking to town off the road 79.
Biking
Lucky
on-
he's not dead.
Biking on Coddington Road is dangerous.
Yeah.
Plain and simple.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and I've spoken to people before who live on Coddington, like, oh, I gotta go down to Burns to get on, and so I just, the comments about this, I know people in the past wanted this for their kids,
Yeah.
and their kids are not kids anymore, so I'm
But
not,
there'll be more kids.
I'm waiting for my grandkids.
Yeah, so-
One of the things though is gonna have to be, aside, and then I'll shut up. There's gonna have to be parking areas.
Yeah. That's it.
Because the one there on Ridgeway, that little parking lot's frequently full.
On Ridgeway?
I think it's Ridgeway. Yeah.
They may have a pull off there now. with
Yeah, they got a
the,
pull off there
with
where you
the
get on.
Finger Lakes Trail.
Yeah,
there.
and then you go on down to the Finger Lakes Trail.
So
Okay.
the,
Oh,
I agree with you, I think,
Coddington.
No,
No.
Off of Ridgeway?
no, I didn't know.
Before you
that.
get to Coddington, you're Stone's Throw in Coddington.
Okay,
That's part of the trail design is they really look at where to put parking, specifically,
Yeah.
so it's not like 20 cars in front of one house,
Yeah.
right, or anything like that. So they,
Like there's
and
room for
if
6
you
cars.
walk the Finger Lakes Trail, like I know where a number of places are, where there's I know there's room for 3 cars that get dropped off anyway, so. But that is taken into planning the trail and very carefully, about the parking.
So the other-
Ideally, but one thing I agree with you, I just want to say I agree with you, that I think numerous people didn't realize that there's a connectivity issue here. That you've got the Finger Lakes Trail, that's nice, and the other one's in Shintagan Hollow, but this one connects us. So somebody could bike or walk all the way to Ithaca, to Trumansburg, right? So,
Yeah.
and people do that. I know a lot of people don't, but a lot of people do. So.
so the other comment I heard several times was about snowmobiles.
Mhm.
So I, kind of looked into this, tried to figure out where's the snowmobile trail. I can't tell that there's an authorized snowmobile trail on the rail bed. If the snowmobile club, wants to, work with NYSEG to have a tandem snowmobile path, I think that'd be fine. But that's a separate issue because this is intended to be a pedestrian
I was
bicycle.
thinking something like we have with seasonal limited use highway, from December 1st to April 1st,
Yeah.
snowmobiles would be allowed. But that would have to be renegotiated with whoever. I don't think the tandem thing would. I sit here and talk all night.
Yeah, so, okay. So, anyway, I do want to bring this to a vote tonight. Are we ready to vote? So if we're ready to vote, I will say all in favor, raise your hand or say aye. Aye. Opposed? Thank you so much, all of you, that's great. All good points. And I will say that we are committed to addressing the serious concerns that were brought up about impacts on, as we do build this out, we will be concerned about impacts on residents that are very close to the trail. For much of the Caroline segment, that's just not the case.
Yeah, we will, or I'll be voting against it.
Yeah, well, the countryside.
For what that's worth.
So great. Thank you, and then, I'll put forward the next resolution. To authorize a change of use of the clean heating and cooling campaign funds. I'm not gonna read through the whole thing, but we got $5,000 from NYSERDA for our first clean heating and cooling campaign. We intended that to provide heat pumps for our community center. That evolved into the Speedsville Thermal Project. And now working with Mike Brown, we want to make energy improvements to this building, which require I don't know what it is, but it's called an ASHRAE Level 2 analysis. So we need funds to do that. So we're looking to redirect those funds towards getting for NYSERDA to recognize that envelope improvements have to be recommended by this analysis. So we know that this building needs that evaluation because it's questionable how there is insulation in this building. We just don't know how good it is. So
Not much.
I noticed on that side, the clapboards have moved and birds are pulling out foam insulation. So there has been foam insulation in some of them.
Nice thing, works good for Ness.
Yeah.
Do you need a second?
I do.
A second.
Seconded by Tim. And are we ready to vote? Any questions? Does that seem reasonable?
Seems reasonable.
Okay. So with no further questions, I'll call for a vote. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Great, thank you.
One thing I'd like to ask for is that either May or June business meeting as a group, we review the town's budget.
Okay, hold that thought for when for the last agenda item.
Okay.
So, great, thank you. You just thought about that with spending $5,000 or something?
No, it wasn't 5,000.
So, I'll offer a resolution to pay the town bills in the amount of, if I can find it,
Something under $100,000.
there they are. So A fund, $33,032.79, and the highway fund, $33,579.62, and the street lights, $385.52.
I'll second that one.
Second by Cal. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Have to be mighty grumpy to oppose that one. Or
You want to vote again?
your fiscal conservatism kicking in, right? So then, any comments for the minutes of April 3rd for Jesse? Those minutes are thereby approved. Offer resolution to approve the 284 agreement, which I thought I did bring. There it is. So it gets all of our signatures. So do people have a chance to look at it? Okay.
To have it.
What's that?
It's very good to have it.
Yeah, very good to have it. Yeah. So without further ado, I will offer a resolution to approve the 284 agreement.
The
Which is
general repairs is
the 189 one,
$189.
189,000. That is a
Gotcha.
period instead of a.
There's a period
Yeah,
there.
that's a comma.
It's common. Okay, that makes more sense. Okay. Yeah. that makes sense. Do I need to sign it or?
Yeah, we all need to sign
I
it.
need to sign it.
But I,
Okay.
All 8 of us.
I'll just document it by a resolution.
Okay,
too,
that's,
So that we can sign it later.
okay.
So if there are no further questions, I'll call for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Great, thank you. And, great. Anything else before we close?
On the budget.
Oh, yeah, so agenda items for next time, I forgot to put that on here for, so what you wanted for the,
Yeah, just as a group, we just, here's the 2024 budget, here's what we spent halfway through the year.
oh, I gotcha, yeah,
You know,
okay, I know what you're talking about, okay.
And just kind of,
So we should do,
kind of
you wanna do
looking
the halfway point?
Yeah.
June,
yeah. That'd be good.
June meeting, June,
We might only be through May, but just give us an idea where we stand, and then
yeah,
I think also that these projects will be moved a little farther along, and maybe we'll have some ideas of, what, it just, I guess what I'm trying to get at is getting just a little bit started on the 25 budget, Hey,
That's
we've done really well here,
so also you were asking about the payments to Hunt Engineering for the broadband feasibility, so we contracted for 52,000 with them, that was the contract amount, so we've spent right now about 25.
Yeah, about half of it.
Yeah, so we're in great shape, and they gave us the feasibility study in November, December, or something like that, so a lot of work's been done. So, does that seem?
No, it was a bit of a shock, just to me, that's all. So I think I just kind of.
Yeah.
I mean, we've been doing a lot, but I just.
Yeah.
We spent a lot of money on consulting and engineering things. And.
This is being paid for by the county, right? This is Kate's grant.
Yeah, yes, but it's still,
So. That's right,
just trying to watch the dollar cents. And. Know where it's coming from and where it's going to.
great. Okay, next meeting will be the May agenda meeting on May 1st.
Propitious.
Auspicious,
Auspicious, yeah.
so.
You gotta be careful what you say around here.
So I guess, I'll offer a motion to enter executive session to discuss personnel issues with the code office. Second by Tim. All in favor?
Aye.
And the time is now 9:09.
We did well.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good.